The Bonneville Shoreline Trail has been under construction for 30 years. Join me, Brandon Plewe, and my son Spencer as we hike the 200-mile length of the BST to learn about its past, present, and future, and explore the landscape of this boundary between the city and the wilderness. Good morning. We're in Cottonwood Heights today. We're going to try doing what we can here in Cottonwood Heights, and we're joined by a guest. This is Patrick Morrison.
Hello.
Patrick is a program specialist with the Utah Office of Outdoor Recreation. So, welcome, Patrick.
Thanks for having me.
This is your neck of the woods, right?
Indeed, it is.
All right, so you're my guide today. Although this section of trail is brand new, and we're not actually sure if it's completely done yet or not. So, this might be a bit of an adventure. So, let's go see what we can find out. So tell me a little bit about the Office of Outdoor Recreation. What's its mission? What's its purpose?
Well, the mission, first off, is to ensure all Utahns can lead a healthy and active lifestyle through outdoor recreation. We really have led the way on how important it is from a state level to kind of look out for recreation, understand its importance for our quality of life, for the economy, for tourism. You know, we do that in a number of ways. First, we have our big grant program. We were able to give out $11 million to organizations across the state to just help build, sustain, maintain recreation. You know, we're going to have one of our projects just down the hill, a new parking lot trailhead for this area.
Oh, yeah,
so,
for this trail, yeah.
You know, we also do a lot for our Every Kid Outdoors initiative, which was an initiative passed in the legislature a number of years ago, which, you know, really prioritizes that every kid should have the opportunity to experience the outdoors. We have a good connection with our local businesses. You know, outdoor recreation's a big driver for the economy. And then, of course, just trying to make sure our legislators, you know, have some type of support, you know, when they need to understand about recreation, that we can be there to give advice, to, you know, just help direct them.
Every session, there seems to be 2 or 3 bills or acts that are related to recreation in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially these past couple of years, they've really just, you know, stood up and said that we want to support recreation, and this is how we're going to do it. Just this last year, they gave an additional $5 million to our grant fund. They created a new kind of restricted fund using a percentage of sales tax. That's going to be just a massive driver for supporting recreation.
Yet last year, there was an act passed.
Yeah.
And what's come of that? And you've kind of been sorting things out for the past year.
Yeah, so yeah, it's almost 2 years in the making now. Representative Snyder, who's up in Cache County, he worked with us the previous year, pulling us over into the Department of Natural Resources, and then he was so helpful with Joel Ferry this year, which was the sponsor of the bill that's going to move us. So last year they had taken recreation from State Parks and Recreation, and this year they're moving the Office of Outdoor Recreation into the Division of Recreation. You really allow us to expand the reach and expand the impact we can do. We have a lot of funding, and we're, you know, combined with the existing programs there, the OHV program.
So so now you're going to be doing a lot more motorized than you probably were before.
Yeah, and I think we always try to support all kinds of recreation, but the OHV program has just done so much great work for the motorized community, and, you know, with the fiscal incentive grant, but just kind of having all of that connection together, we can start thinking of recreation as a whole, you know, because recreation is very diverse, and we're so lucky with so much land here that, you know, we need to anticipate areas are going to be supporting all kinds of recreation. So to have all of that, you know, in one office, so we can really think about how do we create an environment where everybody gets to enjoy a space in the way they want to.
So your office has always shown a strong support for the BST.
Yeah.
What is it about this particular trail that is worth state support?
Well, you know, once again, I want to give support, you know, for Speaker Wilson in the House. Has always been a big fan of the Bonneville Shoreline. You know, he's coming from Davis County, and, you know, it's a side of the Bonneville Shoreline. But, you know, not only is it a historic trail when we think about our long geologic history, you know, of the massive Bonneville Lake here, but it has such a high urban interface that, you know, the majority of the population of Utah is along the Wasatch Front. Right. And we have this amazing trail that is so accessible by so many people. You know, not everybody has the time to take a weekend off work, you know, pull a boat to a reservoir or to go camp, but hopefully everybody has the time to get to the Bonneville Shoreline along the Wasatch Front. And so being able to kind of support it in this way, it's just, the benefits are so massive. As I'm sure you're well aware, right now in the Wasatch, the big issue with the Bonneville Shoreline is really land acquisition.
Salt Lake County, I think, has more trail completed than any other county, but it also appears to have more difficult gaps
Yeah.
than any place
Yeah.
else between the terrain and the land ownership.
I think a lot of the landowners, I think they can really appreciate supporting the trail, if it's framed correctly, and a lot of this land that will be used to develop the trail is undevelopable for really any purpose. So we hope with just some time, some discussions, they can really appreciate what it's going to offer to all the citizens, once we can actually put a trail in there to connect such a historic trail.
Oh, let's see. We're on this long-established Ferguson Canyon section of the trail, but they're building a brand new section that we're going to be checking out. But we're not entirely sure how to get over that. They haven't built the connection part yet, so we're trying to figure out here.
The connection's always the last thing to be built.
Yes, the last thing you want to do is open everybody up to an under construction site. So
Yeah, I've never actually made the connection from Ferguson over there. I've certainly made it from the Big Cottonwood towards Ferguson.
let's try this.
Great.
We're on Forest Service land now, right? So the Forest Service
Yeah.
is building this next section.
I believe this whole trail, from Big Cottonwood over is all Forest Service. Touches into some wilderness as well.
It's a nice creek here.
Yeah.
So have they said when they expect this to be officially open?
Yeah, I believe the crews are trying to finish this very last section this season. I want to say the first cut was probably made 2 years ago.
Across the canyon there's no trail yet,
No.
but I guess the plan is it's probably gonna have to go pretty high, I'm thinking, to get around the gravel pit and everything.
Yeah, I don't know what layouts they've really conceived, but you have like the old pipeline
Yeah,
still
you
up
see the
there.
pipeline across there.
And so I imagine they'll probably take advantage of that. Ideally use the same trailhead, switch back up. I mean, it's pretty steep, but yeah, you do have that complication of getting above the development, above the gravel pit.
Yeah.
But the Bonneville Shoreline grant fund that we were able to do 2 years ago, Utah Open Lands, they're working to acquire 2 pieces of property just on the other side, just north. So that's going to be really helpful as they're trying to connect, from that huge section over towards Big Cottonwood. A lot of progress on the Bonneville Shoreline in the Wasatch. It's really nice to see.
We'll see a lot of new sections, I think, here.
Yeah, I know. As when we were working with Provo and Utah County during that funding, it seems like there's much like here, a patchwork of property owners, a lot of moving pieces, but it's great to see that work starting, and we've already been able to see some progress.
One of the challenges of the Bonneville Shoreline Trail is that it's, one of the nice things is that it's successfully, if slowly,
Yeah.
being built as kind of this collaboration of literally 100 or more participants, between landowners and government agencies. And I mean, the fact that it's happening at all is pretty amazing that they would all get along. But it does have the downside that nobody's really in charge of it. There's not really any oversight of the whole thing. I mean, there's the Bonneville Shoreline Trail Committee, but they'll be the first to say that they're more kind of supporting than really managing the trail.
Yeah.
What do you think would be the ideal for how to do this? Do you think it would work the way that it is, of just being this kind of cooperative thing?
Currently, we have been able to see progress, and maybe that was the low-hanging fruit. Maybe those were the areas of the trail that were mainly like Forest Service land or county, city lands. As we progress more and more, especially as we have so many more residents coming in, I do think kind of an overarching organization to help navigate some of the complexities would ultimately be a really great thing. The terrain itself lends to some pretty complicated trail building, so you'll definitely need an organization that can help facilitate that, whether you're using like professional crews, working with Forest Service or volunteer crews. When we consider the different jurisdictions it's going through, having the expertise, because while we can expect a lot of these amazing trail organizations to get out and build, once we get into these disputes over property, different owners, there's just so many complexities that, having a kind of professionalized umbrella organization to help kind of shepherd that along, I think is really what it's going to need.
One of the newer things that you're all working on is this Utah Trails Forum.
Yeah.
What's the idea there? How's it going?
So yeah, Trails Forum's going great. I think it was the vision of our program manager, Tara McKee, who just can think big visions like almost no one I've ever met. And we have so many amazing trail users and trail organizations across the state. There's so much knowledge, but we just noticed it just wasn't as connected. It seemed a disservice if you have a new organization, say in Sanpete County, who is trying to figure out everything on their own when
other people have already figured it all out.
Yeah, but maybe just up the road in Utah County, you've got the Utah Valley Trails Alliance, an organization with history and professionalism, and we want to be able to connect these groups. It's part knowledge sharing, it's part mentor-mentee, just a nice directory, and also promoting best uses, safety, education. I think I was on a site visit just up in, further up in Parley's at Snyderville, and to listen to what they're doing and how thoughtful they are about their trail network, from their garage to trailhead mentality. That's just knowledge that should be shared. So the Utah Trails Forum is inevitably there to help support, bring together people in a knowledge sharing basis, and promote trails.
So when you were building this, were there any particular challenges with this section of trail?
Challenge for sure, very steep. And you've got, the houses right below, so when you're building it, even if the houses weren't there, it's still going to be
that section there is like above the house.
Pretty unique section because it's steep, so you need a really, really big back slope, just so you can get the appropriate grade, so it's sustainable. The houses, the safety is always a big thing when you're building above houses.
So was that hand built, that section across the face there?
Yeah, all of that. I get to claim I was like the very first Pulaski in the ground up there, but the Forest Service had built a ton, and I got to do a site visit with, some of the folks from the Salt Lake Ranger District, and, they were out flagging it. We're really lucky to have the Salt Lake Ranger District. That crew is so amazing, and they were out here flagging, and they just stuck me up there and be like, "How's this look?" And I'm like, "Great," dug in, and so that was a fun Pulaski swing.
We have a section in Provo the gap that we're trying to fill, not the one that you guys have been working on, but another one that's in Forest Service property. But same idea, really expensive houses, steep grade, and we're like, if we pull up equipment up there and they start knocking rocks down the hill, we're in trouble.
Absolutely.
So it's like you have to be careful with every shovel full of dirt that it doesn't go down the hill, that it ends up in the wheelbarrow.
And I think one other complexity is, we talked about the houses, but the property line is also, it comes up pretty high. There's a post that we would follow where we could actually see where the property line was, but that restriction makes it so as you're trying to lay out the trail, you're confined into what kind of grades you can get up there. So, I think the layout they chose is ultimately great. Going through this section with the scrub oak, the big rocks, pretty classic Wasatch Trail. You just a lot of rock bars, ripping out stumps, can be quite fun. But this was all pretty standard, pretty great. But yeah, that section up there just really steep. Houses right below.
Grade of this trail's been really nice and
they did a really.
We'll see how the crossing goes over there,
sure.
But
I got to do the first year, but the majority of the work belongs to the current CCF crew and the Salt Lake Ranger District Forest Service crew. They've really done a lot, and all the volunteers. So many volunteers we've taken out here.
Well, this be a good place to finish this up. So thank you so much, Patrick, for joining us today.
Absolutely.
This is some great trail that we're seeing brand new here, and look forward to being open.
Yeah, and thanks for all the work you're doing to help promote, support the Bonneville Shoreline. It's really nice to get to kind of show you our neighborhood's Bonneville Shoreline Trail.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's also an honor for all the work you're doing to get to introduce you to this section.
Well, thank you. You've done a great job.
Well, appreciate it.
Well, it was great talking to Patrick. Coming around here into Big Cottonwood Canyon. Now we're crossing the canyon, and we're going to check out an unofficial section of trail here on the north side of the canyon. See where it goes. This segment of trail is actually quite nice, even though it's totally unofficial. We're still on Forest Service property. In fact, this whole segment we're walking is going to be public land between the Forest Service and the county. My guess is the only reason why it hasn't been designated is because the Forest Service generally likes to wait until they can get a trailhead at both ends before they designate a trail, unless it's going to a waterfall or something. So, but they could probably designate this. It is a little steep at the very beginning, but generally I think this is not bad. Break. Well, that last bit was a little sketchy, but now we've reached a pipeline. So the next bit of trail here is going to be really nice and level for a change. Great little remnant here of the original pipeline. You can see that back over 100 years ago when this was built, it was built almost like barrel style. So there would be these big metal rings and then just wood panels to hold it together with these cables kind of wrapped around it to hold it, and they'd tar the inside to make it waterproof, and that's where we got our drinking water. Well, it looks like we've reached the end of the trail here. This pipeline ends at that underground water tank. And beyond that is private property, and I see there's no trail there. So next time we'll pick up the trail on the other side of that ridge, and with another great guest, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about the prospects here.